Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Bayeshim, Rakah Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Bayeshim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on BusinessInsider.com titled, "The UK is abandoning its alliance with Trump as the United States withdraws from its leadership around the world." And this is biblical prophecy taking place right before your eyes. This is Revelation 17, verse 16. "And the 10 horns, which is the EU, which the UK was a part of, which thou sawest upon the beast, NATO, which the UK is also a part of, these shall hate the whore, the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire from those nuclear-tipped ICBMs, which the UK is going to shoot onto the United States of America after they turn against her." This is Jeremiah 50, verse 12. "Your mother shall be sore confounded, Britain, which the United States came out of, beginning with the 13 colonies. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Babylon the Great, the United States, after it's hit with those nuclear missiles, it's going to be a desolate desert wasteland." 13. "Because of the wrath of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Yahweh." And the main nation that the UK is going to ally themselves with to come against the United States or Babylon is Russia, which is known as the North Country, the Medes, as well as Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38 in the scriptures. Let's jump up to Jeremiah 50, verse 9. "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the North Country, Russia." And that assembly of great nations is not only the allies of Russia, like Iran, China, and North Korea, but also the allies of the US, which are going to turn against her. Again, the UK, also France, Germany, these other NATO nations, Japan, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, etc., etc. "And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows," those nuclear missiles, because what you have to remember is that when the prophets saw these visions thousands of years ago, they didn't know what a nuclear missile was, so they had to describe it the best way they could with what they knew during their times. Weapons of war, like bows and arrows, spears, javelins, swords, you name it, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. All the nuclear missiles that will be shot onto Babylon the Great, which are going to be 200 million, are going to hit their targets without any problems. And these are truly beautiful times we're living in, as Yahushai HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, told to his disciples in Luke chapter 10. This is Luke 10, I'm going to read 23 to 24. "And he turned him unto his disciples and said privately, Blessed are the eyes which see the things that ye see." This was Yahushai talking to his disciples in the past, telling them how blessed they were to see the first coming of the Messiah. But Yahushai is also talking to his disciples today, telling them how blessed they are to not only see the downfall of their enemies, which are chiefly these Edomites or so-called Caucasians, but to also see the second coming of the Messiah, which is right around the corner. "For I tell you that many prophets and kings have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them." And it can never be said enough how lucky you Akim are to have the knowledge of Yahweh Bayeshim Yahushai and the understanding of these scriptures, and to know exactly what's going to come to pass and know that our salvation is at hand. So that should just put a fire in your spirit to push this word as hard as you can and have all 10 toes down in this truth to make your calling and election sure, and to be of that elect number that gets beamed up on the chariot and saved from this coming nuclear destruction. Let's get back to this article. Donald Trump's decision to assassinate Qasem Soleimani has triggered a major rupture between the United States and its historically closest ally in the United Kingdom, and also these other European nations. There's been a lot of friction between the US and the EU and the US and NATO lately. The EU is mad at the US for abandoning the Iranian nuclear deal, which pretty much dismantled it. And they're also mad at the U.S. for assassinating Qasem Soleimani because they fear it's going to lead to more tensions in the Middle East and a war in Iran, which is going to happen. It's going to kick off World War III, or that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, that war of Armageddon. As it says in Revelation, one woe is past, and behold, two woes more come hereafter. World War I, then World War II, and this upcoming World War III. And the U.S. is also mad at NATO because they're angry that NATO's not paying their fair share of the cost to maintain it. In remarkably outspoken comments, UK Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said on Sunday that Trump's isolationist foreign policy stance meant the UK was now looking for alternative allies around the world, that assembly of great nations from the North Country, Russia. I worry if the United States withdraws from its leadership around the world, he told the Sunday Times. He added, the assumptions of 2010 that we were always going to be part of a U.S. coalition is really just not where we are going to be. The comments came after Boris Johnson's government distanced itself from the attack last week, with the UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab labeling it a dangerous escalation which risked a conflict in which terrorists would be the only winners. That third woe, that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which Yahushai is gathering you heathen nations down into the Middle East for, as punishment for touching the apple of his eye, the true children of Israel, who are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these other heathen nations. A spokesman for the Prime Minister was also quick to condemn Trump's threats to target Iranian cultural sites as a breach of international law and a potential war crime. With the Iran crisis ongoing, the UK is now openly threatening to tear up its long-standing defense partnership with the United States. Your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. The U.S.'s withdrawal from its leadership of the world under Trump. UK Defense Secretary Ben Wallace told the Sunday Times that the U.S. was increasingly looking for alternative international allies. Over the last year, we've had the U.S. pull out from Syria, the statement by Donald Trump on Iraq, where he said NATO should take over and do more in the Middle East, Wallace said. The assumptions of 2010 that we were always going to be part of a U.S. coalition is really just not where we are going to be. Wallace said the UK would need to reduce its dependence on U.S. military assets. We are very dependent on American or Babylonian air cover and Babylonian intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance assets. We need to diversify our assets. Wallace told the paper the UK would increasingly need to turn to other allies that more closely share the UK's interests. Regardless of what the U.S. does, we are going to have to make decisions that allow us to stand with a range of allies, the Five Eyes, or the intelligence partnership with America, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and our European allies, where our interests converge, he said. That's pretty much it with this article. But as Joachim can see, the 10 horns upon the beast are turning against this whore, and they eventually will eat her flesh and burn her with that nuclear fire when they ally themselves with the North country, Russia. And once these nuclear missiles are shot onto the United States of America, again, it's going to become that desolate, barren wasteland where no man will ever set his foot in again. I'm going to close it out in Isaiah 13. I'm going to read verse 17 through 20. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, the Medes being Russia, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Once the Most High puts the spirit on these Russians to shoot their nuclear missiles onto the U.S., no peace treaties, peace talks, or nuclear proliferation deals are going to keep them from shooting their missiles onto Babylon the Great, or that assembly of great nations, which are going to hearken unto the Medes, the North country. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Every citizen in the United States of America that is not an Israelite, but more specifically an elect Israelite that gets beamed up on the chariot, because you 2/3 will take part in the judgment with these heathens, chiefly these Edomites, are going to get burned up in that nuclear fire. And those bows are referring to the silos that are going to launch those nuclear missiles. Think about it like this: bows and arrows. Back in Jeremiah 50, verse 9, their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain after they're shot from those bows. And Babylon, the United States of America, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And like I said at the beginning of the video, besides being known as Babylon the Great, the United States is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt in Revelation 11, verse 8. And how did the Most High overthrow ancient Sodom and Gomorrah? With fire and brimstone from the sky. And the Most High is going to overthrow this modern Sodom and Gomorrah with modern fire and brimstone from the sky. Those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. After these nuclear missiles hit Babylon, it's going to be a desolate wasteland that's only going to stand as a memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looks like and how not to govern the earth. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathens, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abba Babal, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.